Hey, what's going on, guys? Rhino here, bringing you a very late night late night vlog, because I am super tired. I've been studying for this really hard math test that's coming up, and I need a break. Someone text me right away. I need a break. I need to get my mind off things, and so I want to talk about something that I haven't actually talked about on my channel. I've seen a lot of atheist YouTubers talk about this, as it's pretty pertinent to a lot of stories or a lot of reasoning for why they believe things, why they explain things, etc. And that's the story of how I became an atheist, why I am an atheist. And it's the full story of where I started out, how I came to be where I am today. Let me start out by saying that my story isn't as interesting or as important or as impactful is a better way to say it, then I believe it's Logicked. It's either Logicked or Armored Scout. Yeah, it's Logicked, who talked about, he made a long video, like 40 minutes, where he talks about his origins and how he became an atheist. And how he went through a lot of different faiths. He did try the extremely religious side of things, as well as the more secularist, more atheist side of things as well. So he kind of came from both sides. He came from a very a religious background, and so he has a lot of experience dealing with extremist Christianity. He was part of that, and I've heard a lot of atheists describe themselves in this way. They were hardcore Christian, they were hardcore Jewish, they were hardcore Muslim, and they now became an atheist. So I'm going to start off with my story back when I was really young. My family is not religious. I don't know how I would describe my parents. I would say my mom is, the way I would say it is, my mom is an agnostic theist. I would say my mom's an agnostic deist, would be the best way to put it. My mom doesn't really know what she believes. She doesn't really care what she believes. She doesn't have religion in any part of her life, but she kind of does believe in a God. That's it. There's not in depth. She doesn't impose her beliefs on anyone. Like, she never talks about religion, except for with me, because she knows I'm an atheist. And so it's, religion plays no part in my mom's life whatsoever. My dad, on the other hand, I would say is an agnostic Christian. And when I say, I know technically everyone is supposed to be agnostic, and I consider myself an agnostic atheist. But the reason why I say agnostic Christian is because I put emphasis on the agnostic part. The fact that my dad doesn't know. And because of that, he also doesn't attribute religion into his life. He doesn't go to church. He doesn't pray to God. He doesn't make like prayers, meal prayers. He never talks about God. He never talks about religion, anything like that. But he was raised on a more Christian background. And when I assert things, when I'm like sitting in my house with my parents and I assert something against Christianity, my dad is usually the one who will say something like, "Oh, well, you don't know." He's the more defensive towards Christians, which is the only reason why I would categorize him like that. Both my parents would probably categorize themselves as Christians, but I wouldn't really categorize my mom as a Christian, because she really has that disconnect from modern Christianity. And so that's what I was raised around. I was raised in a non-religious household, not an atheist household, a non-religious household. Religion didn't play a part in our household whatsoever, but we kind of, I was raised being essentially told, but mostly from society, that God exists. There is a God. It's the Christian God, because I lived in the U.S., but that's it. Growing up, I never went to church until I think it was like fourth or fifth grade. Yeah, fourth grade. And the only reason I went was because I spent the night at a friend's house in Tennessee, where, Tennessee is a very religious state. And so my friend went to church, and so I had to go to church with them. I also went to church that same year on Christmas Eve because my sister went through a religious phase. My sister also now is an atheist. And my sister is raised basically the same as me, but she had a little kick in there where she had a religious kick where she wanted to be really religious, and now not so much. So, I didn't really go to church at all. Even over there in, I lived in Tennessee for 2.5 years. I never had religion really play a part in my life at all, except for going to church those couple times. I never really considered things. Although the church did play a major role in things. I never thought about religion. I just didn't think about that in my life. And then came along the time that I went to church. The second time. The first time I was with a friend, and so we literally just talked and messed around the whole time, so I didn't pay attention. I didn't even know what the fuck was going on, really. I just went and sat on this in a pew next to my friend, and we literally just fucked around the whole time. Like, we didn't pay attention one bit. We didn't get up and sing. We didn't pray anything. We just fucked around. So I had no clue what was going on. The second time I went with my family, it was a lot more boring because my parents weren't the ones who would, mess around, play with things. They paid attention. And so I paid attention too. And it was from this point that I really started having doubts. I really started questioning things because what was being told of me at the time, it was not long after. I think it was like a year or two after. No, it was a few years after I'd been told that Santa doesn't exist. And I was thinking to myself, listening to this Christmas Eve sermon, that I was just telling myself, this sounds just like a glorified Santa Claus. It sounds like the same story parents impose on children, not only to give them hope, but to kind of coerce them into behaving. If you don't behave, Santa's going to give you coal. If you behave, you're going to get rewarded. It seemed like God, to me, at that time seemed like God was the same thing. Religion, Christianity was the same thing. If you are good, you're going to go to heaven. And if you're bad, you're going to go to hell. You're going to get tortured. So if you're good, you're rewarded. If you're bad, you're punished. So it just seemed like that to me, which brought questions in my mind. I was not an atheist at the time. Yeah, I was not an atheist. I just questioned things. It was around that time that I really got into searching around on the internet and looking at videos, blogs, websites, stuff like that, about random things. I was interested in random things, things I saw on TV, stuff like that. And after that church visit, I really got into religion. I researched a ton, viewing both viewpoints, both the Christian viewpoint and the more secularist, atheistic viewpoint. And the ironic thing, I came at this in a completely unbiased way. I was told that God exists, and I just wanted to learn more about it. I wasn't sure if he did or not. I just wanted to do some more research on it. I actually, at this point, had never even heard of atheism. I didn't know what atheism was. I had never heard the word atheist before. I just was brought up being told, I'm a Christian. That's it. I'm a Christian. And I thought that's basically what everyone was. I thought everyone. Wasn't even aware of the other religions really. And I started doing research and started looking at viewpoints, and so I was completely unbiased. And the very ironic thing, the thing that really pushed me towards atheism, really not believing in God, is the things I read by Christians, the arguments for Christianity. They seemed super absurd to me. I've always been a skeptic. I've literally always been a skeptic. For example, this is something I thought about the other day while I was in math class. And it's I literally have the mind of a skeptic. I question almost everything I'm told. I was in math class, and my professor was writing stuff like he was going through a problem, and it's calculus, so it's pretty in depth. But we got to a point where we had to just simplify something where it was like 2 times 2 in parentheses squared plus 3, because we had just, substituted in for variables, and we were just working on an algebra part of the problem. And he basically said, he wrote it down, and he said the answer to this is 16, because he had done it prior to that. Even after he said that, I still went through it in my head. I'm like, okay, 2 squared is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, and then 8, whatever. The numbers are made up that I'm giving you, but it was like along those lines. And so I took it through myself to make sure. I'm a skeptic of everything. And when I was going through these pieces of evidence that Christians were providing, it wasn't working for me. It literally wasn't working for me, and this is mainly what I saw. I don't think I even really watched any atheist videos or saw any atheist blogs. I just read the Christian things, and it just pushed me towards not believing. I didn't even know what an atheist really was. I mean, I think at that point, after research, I'd seen the word thrown around, but I didn't know what it was. I just didn't believe. I was like, okay, well, this just seems like bullshit to me. It wasn't because I didn't want to believe or because I was like mad at God, because it was none of that. I was going through these arguments, and they didn't make sense to me. I want empirical, solid, observable, testable evidence. Falsifiable. That's the key part, is falsifiable. I didn't know the word at that time, but I needed evidence like that, and there was none. No one could provide any sort of proof, and that's something that is still rampant today. Atheists begging Christians to provide any sort of evidence for their God that demonstrate that their God exists, and they still can't do it. And at that point, I was basically telling myself, okay, well, I don't believe in God. So that was like 6, 7, or 8 years ago. I'm not really sure. I didn't really keep track, but so I basically became an atheist at that time, but I didn't really identify as an atheist because I didn't really know what that word was, and I didn't really care. I had a disconnect from religion. But it would have been around 5th grade, so like a year later. I moved from Tennessee back to Oregon, and moved into a new neighborhood, and I met this kid who I became friends with, and his dad. One day we were playing, and he called us in, and he had a video playing of these guys making these amazing basketball shots. Like, it was one of those videos on YouTube of like really cool, amazing basketball shots, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. What website is that? He's like, YouTube. I'm like, YouTube? I've never heard of that. And after that, I went home and I looked up, YouTube, and I basically was hooked like that. I started doing a lot of research on YouTube. I started looking at videos, and I don't remember what atheist YouTubers were around then, but that's when I really started getting into searching for more deeper personal reasoning to be an atheist, because I wanted more. I wasn't, questioning myself as an atheist, saying, well, maybe God exists, maybe he doesn't. I was more just like, I want to know. I'm constantly questioning things. I'm a skeptic. I'm an atheist, and I'm a solid atheist. I'm questioning atheist. I'm always willing to change my mind if you actually can provide evidence. But I am a pretty strong atheist where I stand right now. But I wanted to kind of further that. I wanted to understand more of why I lack a belief and what I lack a belief in, why I follow certain things, and stuff like that. And being on YouTube really furthered that. Well, being on YouTube, I mean watching. I didn't make videos at this time. It was years later that I started making videos. But I got really into watching videos, and I got, would start following Christian YouTubers and atheist YouTubers. And the Christian YouTubers, ironically, made a bigger impact on me, on pushing me towards atheism, than the atheists did. And around this time, I did start identifying as an atheist, and I was proud of it. I wasn't not trying to keep it a secret. I'm an atheist, but I'm not going to tell anyone. I was fine telling anyone. If anyone asked me what religion I am, I stated I'm an atheist, even though that doesn't actually apply. I would have to say, oh, well, I'm an atheist, which is a lack of religion. Although it technically could, if you think about it, it would just be like denying. Like if someone said, like, are you a smoker? And I'm saying no, it would be the same thing. Like, it's just denying the religion. Although a lot of people see atheism as a religion. And I was proud, proud to be an atheist, because I felt like it was the more intellectual understanding, because it brings in a lot more science. Well, it doesn't bring in science, but because atheism isn't a belief in science, atheism just is the lack of belief in a God because of whatever reasons, typically lack of empirical evidence. But being an atheist, was more into intellectual things, following science, following evolution, Big Bang, listening to debates about science. I actually for a while, I was really interested in physics. Like, I thought physics was the coolest thing ever. I even took a class in high school about physics because I thought it was really cool. And so, I had this kind of viewpoint on that, and I was still looking for that big thing. I still wasn't sure completely why. I was, pretty strong as an atheist, but I wanted that big idea or reason behind why I'm an atheist. And I found it. Years later, I basically just for years up until now have just always been, doing research, just looking at things, trying to understand things, trying to find an actual argument for Christianity, which I never have found. But I found the big reason for me. If someone asks me, why are you an atheist? I have my response. Hold on. I got 3 texts. I'm sorry. I need to... sorry. So I found that one thing that I was looking for, and it's if someone asks me, why are you an atheist? If I state I'm an atheist and they're like, why? I can tell them, and it's simple. This is the explanation. This is the only explanation that I need. If this was the only thing I was going off of, I would still be an atheist because of how my mind works. Why are you an atheist? Because there is no evidence supporting Christianity whatsoever. The only reason why I was a Christian was because I was born in the U.S. I guarantee if I was born in India, I'd be Hindu. If I was born in the Middle East, I would be Muslim. It was just relative to where I was born. There was absolutely no moral standing, moral reasoning why I would choose one religion over the other. They all have the same amount of validity, which is none, and they all have the same amount of evidence, which is none. Therefore, I don't believe. There's no evidence, no empirical evidence that points to the existence of a God, and that's all I need. I need evidence for almost anything. How the burden of proof lies on the person making the positive statement, which I've talked about in other videos. Atheists talk about all the time. And this is, something that's brought up all the time, except for in social norms, which, things that normally happen. For example, if I, walk to my girlfriend's dorm on campus, where I live, it's one of the most popular bike cities in the U.S. If I walked to my girlfriend's dorm and I told her I saw a biker on the way here, she would believe me, guaranteed. And even if I didn't provide any sort of evidence, but with things not related to social norms, yeah, there would be a need for evidence, and I've never been provided that evidence, and nor has any other atheist. Any argument that's been put forward, most of the time, all the time can be debunked, but most of the time can be torn apart immediately because of fallacies. It's a fallacious argument. And so yeah, that's basically where I stand as of now. I never made a huge journey from extreme Christianity to militant atheist. Like I just kind of glided from believing into not believing. But it's kind of a cool story because it happened really young. I hear a lot of stories of people converting at like 20 or 30, 40 or older. And, you know, there are a lot of reasons that play into this. They weren't exposed to the same things that I was exposed to. They may have been more indoctrinated than I was. And I don't blame them. I don't think these people are any less intelligent, any dumber, any more gullible than me. That's just what they were raised with. And yeah. I just like how I'm proud to say that I've been an atheist for like 7 or 8 years now. And I'm only 19 years old, which is an impressive feat. If you think about it, it actually might be more than that. I'm not sure how old you are in 4th grade. I could think about it, but I don't really want to. But whatever age I was in 4th grade, minus that by, or minus 19 by that, and you'll get the years I've been an atheist, which has been quite a while. It's not something that I care about the whole actual length about. But that's about it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. Post in the comments below your reasoning about why you are an atheist or why you are a Christian, and you know, give some background as to why. If you want to post a video response, go ahead. I don't think my friend will care, but yeah, that's about it for the video, guys. Have a nice day. Peace out.